Alright guys, welcome to the video where we're going to be covering the big patch notes that dropped recently for Marching Fire. We'll be covering the mediocre and bad changes in this video. We've also covered the good changes. If you haven't seen that, it's just the video previous to this one. I have a Larnakin again for this, which is great. And we'll leave a description to his channel. Leave a link to a description of his channel, just like I did in the previous video. With that guys, I hope you enjoy.
Yeah. So now, kind of like mediocre changes, like changes that some of them might be good, some of them might be bad, depending on the execution. So first of all, advanced hero tactics. This has been talked about by Ubisoft for at least 2 or 3 streams, so I'm not gonna go in depth or what this is, but pretty much it just helps you guys. The idea is that it helps you guys defend against the best mix-ups of whatever character it is that you want to practice against. The issue, so that sounds good in theory, but the issue is the mix-up they showed for Scent were extremely outdated. They were not something that happens in a real game, because they were starting with a neutral running attack or whatever. Most of you don't even know that Scent has a running attack. I didn't even know that was like a thing that Ubisoft thought was usable, but I guess they do. So that's a really good idea that seems to be developed very poorly, but hopefully other characters are maybe made better than Scent.
Yeah, I mean the theory is good, the execution was really poor. Hopefully they do some research into what mix-ups, what pressure, what counters and stuff are actually really good or very, very viable in the game, and then they apply that as the execution to the advanced hero tactics feature. I mean, that was kind of that was a big thonker.
Yeah,
big thonker.
Yeah, but again, hopefully other characters are made better than Sam.
No, I'm excited to talk about the next one because I haven't got to hear about it, and I know you've got to see them all. The feats, man, hit me with that, dude.
Now, this is mediocre because some of them are okay, some of them are terrible. So let's start with simply going through the list as Ubisoft talks about them. So first, it's traps. All traps have been universally nerfed. So traps means, of course, stun trap, bear trap, nail bomb, fire trap. Those are the traps that Ubisoft is talking about. All of them can only be used one at a time, which means that you can only have 1 stun trap and 1 bear trap at a time. You cannot have 5 stun traps and 5 bear traps. You can, however, have 1 stun trap and 1 bear trap at the same time. So you can only have 1 of each version.
I mean, I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that.
I am happy that they did something in this direction, but I don't like the 1 number. I think it should be 2.
I think it should be 2.
I think it should be 2. Especially in Breach, where it's such a huge map that just having 1 small trap somewhere might not be enough to actually be useful. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, there's the traps.
You'd have good. 2 traps down somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, the cooldown is decreased, so
yeah, the cooldown for stun trap has been decreased to 60 seconds from 90. And then there's some small changes like trap placement increased a little bit, but that's not as important. Now, bell trap is the same. You can only have 1 of them. Nail bomb and fire trap the same. So that's kind of like a good change in a good direction, but I think they went a little bit too far. I think it should be 2, especially for stun trap and bear trap. Maybe for nail bomb, fire trap, make it at 1, so that you cannot have a lot of tier 4 feats out on the map. But again, for stun trap and bear trap, I think it should be 2. Now, going to changes that are not quite as good. Area of effect. Now, they nerfed the radius of Ignis Imber, Pugna Mortis, and Fiat Lux. Now, Fiat Lux, if you didn't know, has been nerfed to the ground.
It is
it's been nerfed.
bad.
It's been nerfed heavily. It's already bad, and now they're nerfing it even further with no buffs to compensate. So they clearly think that it's too strong as it is right now, which it's really bad right now, and it's going to be even worse. The radius has been decreased by, I think, 25% from 4 meters to 3 meters. That's almost nothing. Pugna Mortis damage has been reduced to 40 from 60. 40 damage tier 3 feet. That's really bad.
It's on the low end for sure.
Cooldown has been increased to 150 seconds. So they thought that not even not only did they need to nerf the radius to 4 meters from 5, but also the damage, but also the cooldown. Even at 2 minutes, all of those changes, not enough. They need to make it 2.5 minutes. So that's Pugnomortis. And Ignis Imber, they reduced the damage, which I'm okay with mostly. Radius has been reduced as well to 4 meters, which I'm not okay with. And Grenade, or the throw itself, or the cast time takes 400 milliseconds, and it was 200. I'm not exactly sure if I like that, because I liked that it was a tier 4 feat that had a lot of damage. And it was difficult to deal with, but you could still, of course,
I mean, you could still get a good Pugno, but like the radius is decreased, making it easier to get out and harder to capture multiple enemies in it, and it's an AoE. The damage is decreased to the same as a Highlander, unblockable. The cooldown is increased, meaning you can use it less often, every 1 and 2.5 minutes. You can use one of these tier 3s. I mean, it don't look too great to me. If I have better options, even mediocre ones, I would run them instead, maybe. Yeah,
Pugnomortis right now is already a kind of mediocre feat, not the worst, but of course like kind of middle of the pack. But now it's going to be definitely towards one of the worst feats in tier 3. Ignis Imber is still going to be mostly okay, but the radius change I do not like at all. Now Kiai.
I'm a little bit weirded out by the radius changes.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not sure what the issue was with radius. But now Kiai. Cooldown has been increased to 60 seconds, which I'm mostly okay with, but allies are now affected by Kiai, which means if you have 1 or 2 Orochis on your team who really don't like you.
It's boom. A grief feat, yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's a really bad idea to make it so there's more ways to grief, and it's extremely easy to do as well because the radius of it is pretty nice.
I would like to point out the developer comment underneath this one. Kiai could change the balance of a team fight very easily. I disagree there.
No, yeah,
it was too spammable. I disagree as well.
It was. With these changes, we want to refocus it towards intended 1v1 role. No, it was the worst feat to use in a team fight because it was actually only detrimental to you because you would give them so much revenge.
Big revenge multiplier on everyone around you, plus revenge gain. The bar would increase.
So you would only help your opponents if you used Kiai in a team fight. It was usable as a 1vx tool, and it's still usable, and a 1v1 tool, it's still usable, but I don't get the point of making it easier to grief with it. What they should have done, I think, is they should have made it a 1% projectile, let's say. Like you can only hit one person with it.
Okay, so change it from an AoE tool to a one-on-one tool.
Yeah, okay. It would still be usable.
I mean, it would lose definitely a lot of its efficacy in 1vx though as an anti-gank tool.
Well, it would still be good in 1v2s because you would be then in a 1v1 if you just use it on one person.
Yeah, and it would still be, I hear that.
And it would still be somewhat okay in 1v3s because then it would be a 1v2 which you can deal with a lot better, especially if you can just external block the 2 people.
It's interesting with the gear stats coming out that a lot of these feats get by proxy buffs, so because of people's stamina regen not being crazy fast, with the feats coming out and perks coming in, guys, then Kiai obviously you're going to be out of stamina longer, which is a buff to that feat by proxy. So
I mean, Kiai is still going to be a good feat now. It's just that it's super annoying that's what they did for Kiai. All right, now going for other changes. Arrow Strike has been slightly buffed to make the radius a little bit bigger to 3 meters, and the damage has been reduced, and it's a little bit quicker as well. I think it's like 600 ms after animation has started rather than 1100. So you might actually hit it sometimes. That's good. Now Catapult, they removed it from the game pretty much. Now what the actual patch note says is the time to react, red warning circle, is increased to 2000 ms from 100 to 1200. Catapult was not in any way close to being the best
tier 4.
Not the best tier 4 in any way. It was good, of course, but the way you used it, it was nowhere near as strong as Fear itself, Morale Booster, which is by the way not being changed.
Can I give a story to just explain to the watchers? The catapult in the previous test we played, which included this nerf, I saw a boss at the end of a breach game. Someone started their catapult. The boss was out of stamina in the center of the red circle. Jogged out OOS slowly out of the red circle. Got hit on the way, staggered by someone else on the team. Still made it out and didn't get hit by the catapult.
Yep. So that's a change. I think one change that I didn't mention for some reason is Spear Storm. Maybe they reverted the change, but in the open test, Spear Storm has been nerfed from 120-second cooldown to 150, which is still lower, or 180 actually, sorry, which is 3 minutes, which is what a tier 4 feed usually is, or is supposed to be. And the damage was slightly nerfed, but the biggest issue with Spear Storm being that there is no sound. It has still not been fixed, so that doesn't do anything. So the best tier 4 feats have not been changed, only the mediocre ones. But speaking of tier 4 feats that were really good, 2 were actually changed. Fear itself and Unblockable. Fear itself now, the duration of this 20 seconds, which it was 30, and the stamina debuff has been removed. That's whatever. That's not the biggest deal. But duration is 20 seconds now, which is a big deal. And Unblockable is now 20 seconds as well, which it was 30, and the cooldown is now 2 minutes and a half, and it was 1.5 minutes. So those are good changes. I would say I agree with those.
Yeah, I do too.
Chilling Stare, which was one of the best tier 2 feats in the game, has now been gutted completely. The cooldown is now 2 minutes. Attack debuff is removed, which means that it doesn't matter whether you have Chilling Stare on or not. You will always do the same damage anyway. And defense debuff has been lowered to 15% damage taken, or additional 15%.
What do you feel about the new Chilling?
It's trash.
Do you think it's way too weak?
I think it's way too weak. It's not usable in any way. Inspire and Smoke Bomb are way better, both of them, and Inspire is just better. Like, it's just the same feat that's just better.
Yeah.
So that's really bad. Of course, Chilling Stare needed a nerf, but maybe make it 20% and leave the attack debuff and make it 20% as well. 2-minute cooldown, and then make it so that it affects everyone but the person you put it on. Right? So everyone is affected by Chilling Stare, but the person who's been kind of pointed at, they can just move away, and though the Chilling Stare doesn't affect anybody.
You're taking them out of the fight, and if they want to risk coming into the fight, they have to debuff everyone.
Yeah, so that'd be a good change.
I like that idea.
Yeah, but instead they just removed the feat from the game. Now, Shield Basher has been decreased. The damage has been decreased from 10 to 6. That doesn't make any change in terms of what Conqueror will run, because Conqueror has no good feats except for Shield Basher, Heal on Block, Body Count, and for tier 4 he has no good feat now, with Catapult being really bad. So it doesn't change anything. It's just the change that makes it worse, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just less damage for Conqueror, and they'll probably get revenge.
Doom Banner, it's a small change, whatever. Like, attack debuff has been removed. That's whatever. You don't play that feat anyway, so they just made a bad feat even worse. Sharpened Blade, cooldown has been increased to 2.5 minutes. Active duration has been decreased to 20 seconds from 30, and bleed damage has been reduced to 5 damage from 10.
What do you think of that?
Which I think it's good. Just because it seems like they're okay. I think it would be good if they made changes to other feats at the same time. Yeah. Because right now, what it seems like they're doing, these are, by the way, all the feat changes. So what it seems to me like Ubisoft want to nerf the overall power level of feats, but all they did is nerf some of them and leave the other ones that are broken the same as they are.
Yeah, I got you.
Morale Booster is still one of the best tier 4 feats in the game, or feats in the game in general.
That's not been touched.
Second Wind is still one of the best feats in the game. Junkgen's tier 3 is still one of the best tier 3s in the game. Shaolin's tier 3 is still one of the best feats in the game. Spearstorm is still one of the best feats in the game. They nerfed Spearstorm, but not in a way that actually matters. So those have not been touched. They just touched some feats, and so they didn't actually lower the power level.
I mean, hopefully they come back to it, because they definitely feats need more work done on them. I personally would like to open my character screen before a match, look at my feats in all the 4 tiers, right, and have to make a decision. Not just go, well, those 2 are trash, pick that one. Well, those 2 are trash, pick that one. Well, those 2 are trash, pick this one. Well, these 2 are trash, I'll pick that one. And have all the 4 tiers done. I would like to look at 2 feats and say, well, will I go with this one for this game or this one for this game? What will be better for the match coming?
So basically, this is why feats were in mediocre changes. Most of them are bad, some of them are okay. That's why it was in mediocre changes. Now moving on to strictly bad changes, I think in my opinion, but of course, well, this is an opinion piece, of course, on our opinion, is an opinion piece. Bad changes. Aramusha has been nerfed for a fifth time in a row, fourth time in a row. One of the worst heroes in the game has been nerfed.
Yeah.
So let me just go through the nerfs to let me say it like this. A lot of people that I see on Reddit, or I'm sure on YouTube as well, think that this is a buff. No, this is a big. No, not, I wouldn't say a big nerf, because you can't really nerf someone who's so bad in a big way.
Can we like get down to like exactly why? Like we'll just say it in one sentence and then we'll explain it. The reason it's not a buff, guys, is his damage has been increased, but his access to getting that damage, to actually landing the attacks, has been nerfed.
Yep.
So you can have a 10,000 damage attack, but if it takes 20 seconds to land, it doesn't matter. You're not gonna land it.
Yep. So basically, what they did is they made it so that the top light is never guaranteed. So right now, if you do a side heavy with Aramusha, the top light is guaranteed. So it is after Twin Vipers. If Twin Vipers hits, it is after forward dash heavy, if you do it on a side, because you can do it from different sides as Aramusha. And it's also guaranteed if you do a deadly feint. The top light is right now guaranteed. But after these changes, it will not be guaranteed anymore, right? So to compensate, they increase the damage of the side heavy to 40, which brings it down from 42 to 40. They made the top light, the infinite top light, 500 ms, which it was 400, and they increased its damage, which doesn't matter because it's not going to hit anyway ever. Then they made it so that all deadly feints are now 400 ms, which sides were 400. Sides were 500 and top was 400. Now they're all 400. Now the issue with that's the only buff. Everything else is a nerf in practicality. Now why this is not a big buff? The reason is it's still very limiting what Aramusha can do. Deadly feints, you can only go from side to top or from top to side. You cannot go from side to side. You cannot do that. So you have to always be going in a pattern. So the 400 ms light, the deadly feint was not good as it is in the game right now, and it's not going to be good as it is going to be in the game in Marching Fire. So why did they make this? Why did they make this change? They made this change because bad players are bad, is what they I think said, or maybe exactly what they said is that people don't know how to deal with Aramusha.
Yeah, it's I think the developer comment, I'm paraphrasing, was for this should make him easier to deal with for newer players, but also more viable for more competent players. And no, I don't think either of those are true.
No, I don't think either of those is true. I think they're both. I don't know what if that was their actual reason, then they failed miserably, because it doesn't make it easier for new players. New players don't even know that side heavy, Aramusha side heavy confirms the top light.
Yeah.
So what this does is it makes side heavies do more damage for new players. It makes the top lights or the infinite top light now deal more damage. One of the biggest issues that new players have is how much damage everything does. So now it's just going to do more damage for new players. New players don't go to deadly feints anyway. This is not going to change anything for new players.
I mean, newer is the word they used, but I still think these points still stand. Just to point that out.
Yeah. And so what they and this is also an extremely bad example to set, because this is literally saying we're balancing the game for new players. But at the same time, last blog post, they said, if you think light spam is too good, try to get better.
Yeah, it means you're still not above the learning curve for being able to deal with light spam effectively. That's what they were telling us. They commented in the last blog post. So it's definitely mixed messages with this, like very mixed messages. I don't know whether there's a lack of communication going on,
No
or
clue.
it's strange.
This is something I would like to rant about for 20
Okay,
minutes.
we cannot rant.
Obviously,
we cannot do rant video. We've already been talking for so long.
This is not the type
There's
of
so
video.
much in this patch.
Yeah, so let's move on to something else. This is bad. Let's move on to something else. Minions now in all modes interrupt executions, revives, and interactions in all modes. Now that's really bad because it removes control from a player. For example, if I want to go for an execution in Minions, and I might die because of that execution in Breach, I still should be able to get. I still should be able to have that option of making a decision. If there's one minion next to me, I want to go for that execution, but I will not be able to because there's one minion. And it's the same with revives. With revives, I'm not as negative about the change, simply because I can understand how tactically this would work, right? How someone specifically would want to die in their minions if they know they're gonna die.
Yeah,
right? That kind of makes sense. But with executions, I think it's strictly terrible, strictly very, very annoying. And all interactions, that means, by the way, like picking up a flag or something, that's not the biggest change. That's kind of whatever, but that's bad. And now I think the last thing that we have is custom servers on. Custom games will now be on dedicated servers. Now, the reason I wanted to specifically include this as well.
Yeah, you'll have to explain this one because not a lot of people play scrims, and this is where this gets particularly important. Let's say for the competitive scene.
Yeah, so custom games on dedicated servers sounds like a good thing, right? Because dedicated servers are good, more stability, things like that. And we've known about this change for a while, right? They had it in the open test. The reason I want to include this is because I want to, just like Crack said, tell you guys why it's bad for the game as it is right now. Now, the reason it's bad is because it makes mixed games impossible. So for a little bit of a story, I guess, I played against Zero Crack.
This was horrible.
in a breach custom game in the open test. Now the teams were 3 NA people and me against 3 NA people and Crack. Now it was fine against the NA people, which is normal connection.
NA being North American boys.
Yeah. Yes, but against Crack, I had double the ping because the way it works is my ping has to go from Europe, from Poland, to an American server, which half the time is gonna be West, because for some reason the game loves putting me on West.
And back to me.
And then has to go back to Crack, which means that he was playing Jung Jun, and he had a really strong offense, and I was playing Shaolin, and he could not see anything either. It was not skill-based gameplay.
I mean, it took me. Annoying. I remember it was on stream too, because you were streaming and I was streaming, I think. And it took me a game and a half before I realized I should just not try to block and react to stuff anymore. It's pointless. It was pointless.
It's impossible.
It was like. So I said, okay, I'm being like. Everything Alarm was trying out was destroying me. I was just getting murdered over and over and over again, and I was getting more and more tilted. So I was like, wait a minute. I should just spam as well. So I did, and then I started spamming Alarm, and then Alarm started dying too. So we were just spamming each other with attacks, trying to get the spacing right to spam in. For the next half an hour, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, so what this does again is mixed games are impossible. EU against EU on NA servers is not playable. Sometimes if you play matchmaking, for example, with a group, and you have 2 North American players in your group and you're EU, you're gonna queue on NA, and if you go into a game and there's another EU player on the other team, you can already see this in the game right now, that EU player will be the most laggy for you, because you have to go EU, NA, EU with your internet, and they have to go that route as well. So that makes, again, mixed games impossible, which matters a lot for competitive scene, and it also matters a lot for just custom games with friends.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know what the solution to that is.
Now, I'm not sure what the solution is. I think the solution is don't put custom games on dedicated servers, but the one thing that I'm gonna say that's good for is that means that they can have spectator mode in the future.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying if custom games go off dedicated servers, it removes the opportunity for spectator mode on those custom games. So to maintain like the prospect of that in future. I'm not sure what they can do about it, but
yeah, spectator mode is 100% needed, so it should have been added at the same time, because there is no real benefit to just having customs on the dedicated servers, because stability isn't a big issue in custom games anyway, most of the time. Because that's the reason to have dedicated servers, right? It's to have stability, but that's not a big issue anyway with custom games. So yeah, that's those are the bad changes in the patch. I'm sure there's a few more, and we could have talked about Aramusha, for example, for a lot longer. But to make this video actually usable, this is as much as we talked about.
I mean, I think we've about covered it all, dude. That we can cover today. There was a huge amount of stuff dropping, guys, in this patch, and I will leave a link to it in the pinned comment if you'd like to read through the patch notes yourself. I learned all in all, how do you feel about this patch?
There's a lot of good things, a lot of steps forward, a lot of small things that have been needed for a year and a half. But there's also logical inconsistencies within Ubisoft. With the Aramusha changes, there's also a lot of annoying things being introduced right now with minions interrupting everything you do. And the feed changes show a somewhat promising future, but they're also not done very well, and they don't actually do what they were seemingly supposed to, which is lower the power level of feats. So overall, I would give this like I don't know, like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, just because. Actually, yeah, 7 or 8 out of 10.
I was just about to say dodge roll and matchmaking. I was going to give it a 7 or 8 because they are massive to the daily playing experience.
Yeah.
I know there's things in there not so good, but those are massive benefits to daily playing of this game. Guys, what was I going to say? Let me adjust my mind. Okay, mind adjusted. And Lernican, thank you very much for your input today, dude. I much appreciate it. I know you were doing a huge amount of talking, but I didn't want to interrupt you in the flow.
Thanks for having me.
So if you were expecting me to talk a bit more, well, I mean, it's hard to keep up with the guy. He just knows a lot more than I do, and his depth of knowledge is very, very high. So he can kind of go into depth a lot more. I feel like I'm just interrupting good information when I start opening my mouth. With that, guys, you can check out Lernican on his channel. I'll leave a link in the description, as I mentioned in the intro. And with that, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you think of this patch, what you thought was good or bad. Did you disagree? Maybe why you disagreed even. You might explain if you do. Things you'd like to see in the future, or things you thought were missed out, and all that jazz. With that, I'll catch you later, boys. So long.